Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a time when trends in nutrition change faster than most people can keep up with. One day a food is called a miracle. The next day it's a villain. But the truth is this: if we want to prevent disease, extend our health span, and feel our best, we must look beyond hype and return to something far more powerful, our own biology. Today, I want to talk about the anti-disease diet, a way of eating rooted not in fad, but in the remarkable scientific understanding of how the body protects itself. Inside each of us is a sophisticated network of defense systems working around the clock. Immunity, angiogenesis, the microbiome, DNA protection, and metabolic regulation. These systems don't just keep us alive, they keep us well, and the foods we choose every day either strengthen these defenses or weaken them. Food is far more than something we chew, swallow, and burn for energy. Modern research reveals that every bite we take contains molecular signals, chemical messages that interact with our biology at the deepest levels. When we say food functions as biological information, we mean that nutrients, bioactives, and natural compounds inside foods speak directly to our cells, our genes, and our internal defense systems. This concept moves us beyond the outdated idea that diet is about calories or macronutrients alone. Instead, it recognizes food as a powerful tool capable of shaping health from the inside out. Think of your body as a highly sophisticated operating system. Just as software responds to the code written into it, your cells respond to the biochemical code delivered by the food you eat. In this way, food is a form of data input. Some foods contain instructions that promote stability, healing, repair, and resilience. Others carry messages that increase inflammation, disrupt metabolic processes, or accelerate wear and tear. This explains why two meals with similar calorie counts can have dramatically different effects on the body. At cellular level, foods interact with receptors, enzymes, and gene expression pathways. For instance, polyphenols in fruits, vegetables, teas, and spices activate antioxidant response elements that help cells neutralize stress. Sulforaphane in broccoli turns on genes that enhance detoxification and DNA protection. Omega-3 fatty acids in seafood influence the production of anti-inflammatory molecules that soothe chronically overactive immune systems. These are not vague or speculative effects. They are measurable biochemical changes triggered by specific food molecules. But the influence of food goes even deeper. Our DNA is not simply a fixed blueprint, it is dynamic. Environmental factors, including what we eat, can turn genes on or off through epigenetic mechanisms. This means foods can influence whether genes associated with inflammation, cancer development, or aging are expressed or silenced. For example, compounds found in green tea and berries can help downregulate genes linked to tumor growth. On the other hand, diets high in refined sugars and ultra-processed foods can upregulate genes involved in inflammation and metabolic dysfunction. So when we talk about food as information, we literally mean that. Nutrients alter the instructions DNA receives about how to behave. Food also communicates with our microbiome, trillions of bacteria in the gut that act as a central control hub for immunity, metabolism, and even mood regulation. When you feed the microbiome fiber-rich foods like legumes, vegetables, fruits, and whole grains, the bacteria ferment these fibers into short-chain fatty acids, which reduce inflammation, strengthen the gut barrier, and support healthy metabolic function. If instead you feed the microbiome a steady supply of refined carbohydrates and processed ingredients, less beneficial, bacteria thrive, producing signals linked to insulin resistance, inflammation, and disease development. In this sense, every meal is a microbiome programming event. Hormones are also strongly influenced by the information in food. Proteins, healthy fats, and certain plant compounds help regulate hormones involved in appetite, energy metabolism, fat storage, and circadian rhythm. For instance, foods rich in polyphenols can enhance insulin sensitivity, allowing cells to more effectively process glucose. Fermented foods can enhance the production of gut-derived hormones that support metabolic balance and satiety. This explains why the anti-disease diet emphasizes not just what we eat, but how foods communicate with the hormonal networks that stabilize health. Food also influences inflammation, one of the most significant drivers of chronic disease. Certain foods contain compounds that dial down inflammatory pathways by inhibiting cytokines and reducing oxidative stress. Turmeric, extra virgin olive oil, leafy greens, tomatoes, and certain fruits act like natural fire extinguishers in the body, calming inflammation before it sparks into disease. In contrast, processed meats, sugary beverages, and trans fats send inflammatory messages that push the body toward dysregulation. Once again, this is information at work. One set of foods sends healing signals, the other sends harmful ones. Perhaps the most empowering part of this idea is how quickly the body responds. Studies show that beneficial signals from food can influence immune activity, microbiome composition, and metabolic markers within hours to days. You don't have to overhaul your life or wait months to feel the effects. The body is always listening, always adapting, always responding to the biochemical instructions we give it. Ultimately, understanding food as biological information transforms the way we approach eating. It moves us away from fear, restriction, and confusion, and toward possibility, clarity, and empowerment. Every meal becomes an opportunity to activate health. Every ingredient becomes a tool that supports the body's natural defenses, and every choice carries the potential to shift your biology toward greater vitality and resilience. The body is equipped with an extraordinary set of natural defense systems that operate quietly, continuously, and with remarkable precision. These systems are not passive. They actively scan, repair, protect, and regulate us every second of the day. When we talk about strengthening the body through nutrition, we are really talking about nurturing these interconnected systems so they can perform at their highest level. Understanding how they work and how food can amplify their power opens the door to a new model of health. One where disease prevention becomes a natural extension of biology rather than a reaction to illness. One of the most important defenses is the immune system. Far from being just a shield against infections, immunity is a complex coordination of cells, signals, and surveillance mechanisms. Immune cells patrol the body looking for viruses, bacteria, and even abnormal cells that could become cancer. Certain foods can boost the performance of these cells, enhancing their vigilance and efficiency. For example, foods rich in polyphenols and bioactives can increase the activity of natural killers. Cells are frontline defenders and strengthen the ability of antibodies to neutralize threats. When nourished properly, the immune system becomes more agile, more responsive, and better able to prevent small problems from becoming major illnesses. Another essential defense is angiogenesis, the process by which the body grows and maintains blood vessels. Blood vessels carry oxygen and nutrients to every organ, making them essential for healing and overall vitality. But angiogenesis must remain in balance. Too few blood vessels can cause poor circulation, wounds that don't heal, or organ damage. Too many can feed dangerous diseases like cancer or harmful inflammation. Certain foods contain compounds that help regulate angiogenesis, preventing abnormal vessel growth while supporting healthy vascular repair. This balancing act is critical, and diet plays a measurable role in keeping it stable. The microbiome is another powerful biological defense. It consists of trillions of microorganisms living mainly in our gut, forming a protected ecosystem that influences immunity, metabolism, inflammation, and even mental health. The microbiome produces metabolites, tiny biochemical messengers that regulate everything from blood sugar to immune function. When we feed the microbiome properly, giving it plenty of fiber, prebiotics, and fermented foods, it becomes a thriving community that protects us from harmful pathogens, reduces inflammation, and supports healthy digestion. But when the microbiome is starved of nutrients or overwhelmed by processed foods, harmful bacteria can dominate, weakening these defenses and increasing disease risk. Nutrition becomes the architect of this ecosystem, shaping how it protects us. DNA protection is another key component of the body's natural defense network. Our DNA constantly faces damage from environmental toxins, oxidative stress, and even normal metabolic activity. Fortunately, the body has built-in repair mechanisms that identify and correct this damage. Foods rich in antioxidants, vitamins, and specific bioactives can enhance these repair systems, reducing the accumulation of mutations that contribute to aging and disease. Compounds found in berries, leafy greens, teas, and cruciferous vegetables help shield DNA from harm and support the body's continuous repair cycle. When these compounds are part of our diet, our cells are better equipped to maintain their integrity over time. Metabolic regulation is the final major defense system. influencing everything from energy production to fat storage to hormonal signaling. A well-regulated metabolism helps the body maintain stable blood sugar, convert food into usable energy efficiently, and avoid excessive inflammation. Problems arise when metabolic pathways become overloaded or disrupted, often due to poor dietary patterns. The right foods can help recalibrate metabolism by improving insulin sensitivity, reducing visceral fat, and enhancing mitochondrial function. Foods that support balanced metabolism make it easier for the body to resist chronic disease, maintain a healthy weight, and stay energized throughout the day. These defense systems do not operate independently. They communicate with one another constantly, forming an intricate network of biological protection. For example, the microbiome supports immunity by training immune cells and producing anti-inflammatory metabolites. Metabolic balance reduces oxidative stress, which helps protect DNA from damage. Balanced angiogenesis ensures steady blood flow, delivering nutrients that support immune function and DNA repair. Every system influences the others, creating a dynamic harmony within the body. Diet is one of the most powerful ways to support and enhance all these systems simultaneously. A single meal can activate immune cells, nourish the microbiome, improve vascular function, protect DNA, and support metabolism. This is why eating strategically is so effective. You are not just consuming nutrients, you are supplying fuel and instruction to a biological network designed to keep you alive and well. When these defense systems are strong and well supported, the body becomes remarkably resilient. It can detect problems earlier, repair damage faster, and prevent small imbalances from escalating into serious disease. Strengthening these systems doesn't require extreme diets or restrictive rules. It simply requires choosing foods that work with your biology, not against it. By doing so, you allow your body to perform the work it is naturally built to do: protect, heal, and thrive. Scientific research has revealed that the foods we eat have measurable, predictable, and sometimes profound effects on our biology. When we say certain foods enhance immunity, optimize angiogenesis, reduce inflammation, or protect DNA, we are not speaking in generalities. These claims are grounded in studies that analyze how specific molecules in foods interact with the body's defense systems. The power of this science lies in its ability to transform everyday eating into a strategic health supportive practice. Instead of relying on guesswork or trends, we can draw from evidence showing how food compounds behave inside us and how they influence the processes that govern health and disease. One of the most studied areas is the immune system. Scientists have identified plant-based bioactives such as polyphenols, flavonoids, and carotenoids that boost immune cell performance. These compounds can increase the activity of natural killer cells, enhance antibody production, and improve the efficiency of T cells as they identify and neutralize threats. Foods like mushrooms, pomegranates, citrus fruits, and teas are examples of ingredients that have been shown to heighten immune function. Research shows that some varieties of mushrooms, for instance, can activate immune pathways involved in defending against viruses. This isn't folklore, it's a direct observation in laboratory and clinical studies. When these foods become part of daily life, the immune system becomes more robust, responding faster and more effectively when challenged. Angiogenesis, the regulation of blood vessel growth, is another area where research has built a strong foundation for food-based interventions. Scientists have mapped out which foods contain compounds that help restore healthy angiogenesis balance. Tomatoes, green tea, berries, soy, and certain herbs have all been studied for their ability to inhibit excessive blood vessel growth, the kind that can feed tumors or worsen inflammation. On the other hand, foods like kiwifruit and some seafoods can stimulate beneficial angiogenesis. In situations where the body needs more support, such as in wound healing or tissue repair, these effects are not speculative. They are measured through molecular assays, animal studies, and even human trials. The ability of food to influence angiogenesis is one of the most compelling examples of how diet can intersect with complex physiological systems. Inflammation, often described as the root of chronic disease, has been another major target of research. Scientists have found that foods rich in anti-inflammatory compounds can help reduce the production of inflammatory cytokines and oxidative molecules. Olive oil, nuts, berries, leafy greens, turmeric, and tomatoes have all been shown to quiet inflammatory signals in the body. Chronic inflammation contributes to conditions like heart disease, diabetes, arthritis, and even depression. When studies show that certain foods can reduce inflammatory markers in the blood, it empowers us to take control of a process that once seemed distant and unmanageable. These are not magic foods. They are scientifically validated tools for cooling inflammation at the cellular level. DNA protection is another remarkable area where science has linked food to measurable health outcomes. Every day, DNA in our cells experiences damage from oxidative stress, environmental toxins, and natural aging. But foods rich in antioxidants, such as blueberries, blackberries, leafy greens, and cruciferous vegetables, help shield DNA from this damage. Even more fascinating, some foods activate repair proteins inside cells, helping the body fix damaged DNA before it can lead to long-term harm. Studies have shown that compounds in green tea, cocoa, and certain fruits enhance the activity of enzymes involved in DNA repair. This means the foods we choose can literally influence the integrity of our genetic material. It turns the act of eating into a form of proactive cellular maintenance. The emerging field of nutrigenomics adds another layer to this understanding. Researchers have discovered that certain foods can switch genes on or off genes involved in inflammation, metabolism, tumor growth, and longevity. This process, known as epigenetic modification, is deeply influenced by diet. Foods rich in folate, polyphenols, and other bioactives can activate protective genes while silencing harmful ones. These effects are not theoretical. They are observed in gene expression studies, where scientists track how food molecules impact genetic activity. One of the most empowering aspects of this research is how accessible it is. These beneficial foods are not exotic or rare. They include everyday items: berries, tomatoes, leafy greens, teas, citrus fruits, beans, spices, whole grains, and nuts. The science shows that integrating these foods consistently can produce cumulative benefits. A cup of green tea, a handful of nuts, a serving of broccoli, or a bowl of berries may seem small, but their bioactive compounds operate on pathways that influence our health in powerful ways. Ultimately, scientific research offers clarity in a world often filled with nutrition confusion. It gives us evidence-backed tools to enhance our body's defenses naturally. With this knowledge, we can move beyond trends and embrace foods that have been rigorously studied and proven to help the body function at its best. Each meal becomes an opportunity to reinforce immunity, regulate blood vessel growth, protect DNA, and calm inflammation using the power of food, guided by science. The gut microbiome is one of the most powerful, yet least visible contributors to our overall health. Composed of trillions of bacteria, viruses, and fungi, this vast community acts almost like a metabolic organ of its own. It influences immunity, inflammation, metabolism, brain function, and even how we respond to certain foods or medications. When we talk about the microbiome as a critical player in disease prevention, we are recognizing that these microorganisms are not passive passengers. They are active partners in keeping the body balanced and resilient. And perhaps the most remarkable aspect of this system is that it responds rapidly and profoundly to diet. What we eat can either nourish and diversify our beneficial microbes or weaken them, allowing harmful species to take over. The microbiome operates through a constant exchange of signals with our body. Beneficial bacteria produce metabolites, biochemical messengers that travel through the bloodstream and influence how organs behave. One of the most influential groups of metabolites are short-chain fatty acids, which are created when gut bacteria ferment dietary fiber. These molecules help regulate inflammation, strengthen the gut barrier, and support metabolic health. They also communicate with immune cells, helping them make decisions about which threats to attack and which substances to tolerate. Without adequate fiber and plant-based foods, the production of these protective metabolites declines, weakening this entire communication network. Inflammation is one of the clearest examples of the microbiome's influence. A healthy gut is dominated by bacteria that keep inflammation in check by producing anti-inflammatory compounds. But when the diet is low in fiber and high in processed foods, sugar, and unhealthy fats, harmful bacteria can flourish. These bacteria produce endotoxins that leak through a weakened gut barrier into the bloodstream, triggering inflammation throughout the body. This inflammation contributes to a wide range of conditions from heart disease and diabetes to autoimmune disorders and even certain cancers. By shaping the microbiome through diet, we are effectively shaping the body's inflammatory tone. The microbiome also plays a key role in immunity. About 70% of the immune system resides in and around the gut, where immune cells constantly interact with microbes. Beneficial bacteria help train the immune system, teaching it how to distinguish between harmful invaders and harmless substances. Diets rich in fermented foods such as yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, and miso introduce probiotics that support this training process. Even more importantly, diverse plant-based foods provide prebiotics, the fibers that beneficial microbes need to thrive. A more diverse microbiome leads to a more adaptable and intelligent immune system. This is why people who regularly consume a wide variety of plant foods often have stronger, more balanced immune responses. And metabolism is another arena where the microbiome wields tremendous influence. Gut bacteria help regulate blood sugar, insulin sensitivity, fat storage, and energy extraction from food. Some bacteria are particularly skilled at breaking down complex carbohydrates into metabolites that help improve metabolic function. When these beneficial species are abundant, the body becomes more efficient at maintaining stable glucose levels and reducing excess fat. However, when harmful bacteria dominate, they can drive insulin resistance, increase fat accumulation, and disrupt appetite-regulating hormones. Research shows that changes in the microbiome can even influence cravings, encouraging us to eat more of the foods that feed certain bacterial populations. This is why nourishing the microbiome is essential for long-term metabolic health. The microbiome also impacts the brain through the gut-brain axis. Bacteria produce neurotransmitters and other signaling molecules that can affect mood, focus, stress levels, and sleep quality. Fiber-rich foods and fermented foods support bacterial species that produce compounds like serotonin precursors, which help regulate mood. Diets high in processed foods, on the other hand, can disrupt this communication line, contributing to anxiety, low mood, or brain fog. Supporting the microbiome becomes a way of supporting mental clarity and emotional resilience. One of the most striking features of the microbiome is how quickly it responds to dietary changes. Research shows that within just a few days of altering what we eat, the composition of gut bacteria can shift dramatically. This means we have the ability to influence our internal ecosystem almost immediately. Adding more fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, herbs, and fermented foods can enrich beneficial microbial populations in a matter of days. Conversely, processed foods, artificial sweeteners, and excess sugars can shift the microbiome toward a state that promotes inflammation and disease in the same short time frame. It's also important to recognize that diversity is key. A microbiome with a wide range of beneficial species is more adaptable and more protective. The best way to enhance this diversity is by eating a varied diet, different colors of fruits, vegetables, different grains, different types of beans, and a rotating mix of plant foods. Each plant food contains a unique combination of fibers and phytonutrients that nourish different bacterial species. The more variety, the richer the microbiome. Ultimately, the microbiome is a central pillar of disease prevention, and diet is the most powerful tool we have to shape it. By feeding beneficial microbes and minimizing the foods that disrupt them, we create an internal environment that supports strong immunity, balanced inflammation, a healthy metabolism, and even a resilient mind. Every meal becomes a moment of microbiome communication, and each choice carries the power to strengthen or weaken. This essential defense system, metabolism, is one of the most important and misunderstood aspects of human health. Many people think of metabolism as a fixed trait, something determined by genetics or age, a number on a lab test, or simply the rate at which the body burns calories. But modern science paints a very different picture. Metabolism is not static. It is dynamic, adaptable, and surprising in its responsiveness. It can be strengthened, recalibrated, and supported through the foods we eat. When we say metabolism is programmable, we mean that its core functions can be influenced, improved, and optimized through deliberate nutritional choices. To understand how food interacts with metabolism, it helps to see metabolism as an intricate network rather than a single process. It involves hormones, enzymes, cellular machinery, gut microbes, and even brain signals that together determine how the body handles energy. This network dictates how efficiently you burn fat, how stable your blood sugar remains, how hungry or satisfied you feel, how well your cells produce energy, and even how quickly you age. When this system is functioning properly, the body operates with a sense of ease, steady energy, balanced hormones, and reduced inflammation. But when metabolism is disrupted, the body experiences fatigue, weight gain, cravings, insulin resistance, and increased disease risk. Food plays a central role in programming metabolism through a series of biochemical interactions. One of the most direct influences is on insulin sensitivity. Insulin is the hormone responsible for shuttling glucose into cells, and its efficiency is crucial for stable blood sugar. Certain foods such as whole grains, legumes, leafy greens, cinnamon, nuts, seeds, and many fruits contain compounds that improve how cells respond to insulin. When cells become more sensitive to insulin, the body needs less of it to do the same job, reducing metabolic strain and lowering the risk of diabetes. In contrast, diets high in refined sugars and processed foods overwhelm the system, forcing the body to produce more insulin and eventually leading to resistance. Another major factor in metabolic health is the regulation of fat storage and fat burning. Metabolism determines whether the body stores fat or uses it for energy. Foods rich in polyphenols such as berries, tea, cocoa, spices, and colorful vegetables activate pathways that encourage the body to burn fat more efficiently. These compounds can even help shrink harmful visceral fat, the type of fat that accumulates around organs and drives inflammation. Protein-rich foods also influence metabolism by increasing thermogenesis, the energy the body uses to digest and process nutrients. This means that choosing supportive foods can gently nudge the body toward using stored energy rather than accumulating more of it. Cellular energy production is another area where diet makes a profound difference. Inside each cell, mitochondria act as tiny power plants, converting food into energy. When mitochondria are functioning well, the body feels energized, focused, and stable. Certain nutrients, including omega-3 fatty acids, B vitamins, minerals, and plant antioxidants, support mitochondrial efficiency. Foods like fatty fish, nuts, seeds, leafy greens, legumes, and fruits help keep mitochondria in good working order. However, diets high in processed fats and sugars can damage these powerhouses, leading to sluggish energy levels and metabolic fatigue. Hormones also play a major role in metabolic programming, and many of them respond directly to what we eat. Ghrelin, often called the hunger hormone, rises when the body expects fuel and falls when we eat nutrient-rich foods that provide true satiety. Foods high in fiber and healthy fats, such as avocados, whole grains, beans, and nuts, help regulate ghrelin, making hunger more predictable and reducing cravings. Leptin, the hormone that signals fullness, also functions better when the diet is rich in whole, minimally processed foods. When leptin sensitivity improves, the body is better able to recognize when it has had enough, supporting natural weight regulation. Inflammation is another powerful metabolic influence. Chronic low-grade inflammation interferes with insulin signaling, disrupts hormones, and damages mitochondria. Anti-inflammatory foods such as olive oil, tomatoes, leafy greens, berries, and spices help calm this inflammation, restoring metabolic balance. Reducing inflammation is not just about preventing disease, it is about allowing metabolic pathways to function without interference. Another important but often overlooked factor in metabolism is metabolic flexibility, the body's ability to switch between burning carbohydrates and burning fats for energy. A flexible metabolism adapts to different conditions, helping maintain energy stability throughout the day. Diets that emphasize whole foods, steady fiber intake, balanced macronutrients, and minimal processed sugars promote this flexibility. When metabolic flexibility improves, people often notice they have steadier energy, fewer crashes, and less reliance on snacks. The microbiome also shapes metabolism, acting as a metabolic regulator in its own right. Gut bacteria influence how we extract energy from food, how much fat we store, and how effectively we manage blood sugar. A fiber-rich, diverse diet helps cultivate microbial populations that support metabolic efficiency. Fermented foods add beneficial bacteria that enhance this effect. The most encouraging part of metabolic science is that improvements can happen quickly, within days or weeks of making dietary shifts. Markers like insulin sensitivity, inflammation levels, energy stability, and fat metabolism can improve. Metabolism responds to signals from food much faster than previously believed. Ultimately, recognizing that metabolism is programmable gives us agency. It reframes metabolism not as a fate, but as a system we can influence every day. With each meal, we have the power to support metabolic balance, energize the body, and reduce the risk of chronic disease. This knowledge transforms eating from a routine task into a form of metabolic care and investment in long-term vitality and strength. An anti-disease diet is built on the principle of addition rather than restriction. Instead of focusing on what to avoid, it emphasizes what to include: foods that nourish the body's defense system, support healing pathways, and promote long-term vitality. This approach is powerful because it aligns with how the body naturally works. The body is constantly repairing, regenerating, and balancing itself, and it relies on a steady supply of nutrients, bioactives, and protective compounds to do so. By adding foods that activate these internal defenses, we create an environment in which health is strengthened from the inside out. Many diets fail because they impose harsh rules or remove entire food groups, leaving people feeling deprived, stressed, or discouraged. Restriction triggers a mental sense of scarcity, making eating feel like a battle. The anti-disease diet avoids this trap. It operates on abundance, encouraging more color, more variety, more nutrient-rich ingredients, and more natural support for the body. When people focus on adding protective foods, they naturally begin to crowd out the less supportive ones. Healthy eating becomes enjoyable, sustainable, and deeply nourishing. One of the major categories of foods that should be added generously is fruit and vegetables, especially those rich in antioxidants, polyphenols, and fiber. These foods help reduce inflammation, protect DNA, support the microbiome, and improve metabolic balance. Berries, tomatoes, leafy greens, citrus fruits, cruciferous vegetables, peppers, herbs, and spices all contain diverse compounds that activate different healing pathways. By incorporating a wide range of colors, you ensure that your body receives a broad spectrum of bioactives, each contributing a unique layer of defense. Whole grains and legumes are another key addition. They provide complex carbohydrates, fiber, vitamins, and minerals that support stable blood sugar, nourish the gut microbiome, and supply steady energy. These foods also contain compounds that positively influence angiogenesis, inflammation, and cholesterol regulation. Because whole grains and legumes are both filling and nutritious, they help reduce cravings and support long-term metabolic health. Healthy fats are also essential, especially those found in nuts, seeds, avocados, olive oil, and fatty fish. These fats contain omega-3s and monounsaturated fats that calm inflammation, support brain function, and protect the heart. They also help improve hormone balance and enhance the body's ability to absorb fat-soluble vitamins. When people add more healthy fats to their diet, they often find they feel more satisfied, which helps prevent overeating and support stable energy throughout the day. Fermented foods deserve special attention as well because they introduce beneficial bacteria that strengthen the gut microbiome. Foods like yogurt, kefir, kimchi, sauerkraut, miso, and tempeh help cultivate gut diversity, which enhances immunity, lowers inflammation, and supports metabolism. Adding even small amounts of fermented foods can shift the microbiome toward a healthier state, amplifying the effectiveness of other nutrient-rich foods. Seafoods and plant proteins are particularly valuable additions for their nutrient density. Fish contain powerful bioactives, such as omega-3 fatty acids that reduce inflammation and support heart and brain health. Plant proteins like tofu, tempeh, beans, and lentils provide essential amino acids while supporting microbiome health and reducing the burden of unhealthy fats. This diversity of proteins helps nourish the body in ways that support energy production, muscle repair, and immune resilience. Even beverages can be part of this additive approach. Green tea, black tea, herbal teas, and even moderate amounts of coffee contain polyphenols that support DNA protection, reduce inflammation, and improve metabolic function. These drinks deliver protective compounds in a gentle, accessible way that integrates seamlessly into daily routines. One of the most important aspects of this approach is how empowering it feels. Instead of worrying about what not to eat, you focus on how to improve each meal by adding something beneficial. A handful of berries on breakfast, a serving of leafy greens with lunch, a drizzle of olive oil on vegetables, a cup of tea in the afternoon, some herbs or spices in dinner. These small additions compound over time. The cumulative effect is a body more capable of resisting disease, defending itself from cellular damage, and repairing daily wear and tear. Adding protective foods also creates a ripple effect. When people eat more nutrient-dense food, they often notice improved energy, better digestion, clearer thinking, and more stable moods. These improvements make it easier to continue making supportive choices. The philosophy becomes a feedback loop of positive reinforcement rather than guilt-driven restriction. Ultimately, the anti-disease diet is not a set of rules, it is a mindset. It is a commitment to give the body what it needs to thrive. By adding foods that activate the body's healing systems, we strengthen our internal defenses and create a foundation for long-lasting health. The beauty of this approach is its accessibility and sustainability. Anyone, anywhere can begin adding health-promoting foods one meal at a time and experience real biological benefits.